Hello everybody, I hope you're having a great day and that your week is kicking off strong. I actually was planning on making a different video today and I probably will be working on that later this week. Essentially, I wanted to cover my experience fighting the final DLC boss. As I've beaten him about 20 times now, I just kind of wanted to share my thoughts. But I have been falling back in love with Elden Ring. I've just been replaying the game. I beat it once again and I'm jumping into NG+2. And I really wanted to discuss what I think makes Elden Ring such a magnificent game and what helps it stand out creatively, but also in terms of the way it was built, who it was built for in terms of the gamer base, and what I think makes it different from other games, including past Souls games, some of which I've played myself. So let's jump right into what I think makes Elden Ring such a spectacular game. I'm going to compare it to the anime series Sword Art Online. Now, I haven't watched much beyond the first season because they did kind of lose me, but something that I really liked about the first season of Sword Art Online, if you're not familiar, is the idea for the world that the people who are in the game, they're essentially stuck in a virtual reality game and have to beat it or die in real life trying to. The idea for the world that they're fighting in, the game that they're fighting in, is that so many enemies have such niche abilities. It has a lot to do with what you as a player and them as a character know about the enemies of a given area, what the dangers are, how to overcome them. A great example that I find is I started playing Elden Ring and I was absolutely atrocious. My entire strategy when I first started was to give everything Scarlet Rot, and this was before Scarlet Rot was nerfed. It was the strongest option at the time, or at least that's what it felt like. And even then I struggled because I didn't really know much about the mechanics. I spent the first 10 hours, not exaggerating, 10 hours of my game not knowing you could run. And that's embarrassing in hindsight because I don't know how I didn't know you could sprint or why I didn't think you could, but I didn't realize you could sprint. I also had little understanding of how the dodge mechanics worked. I didn't even know until recently that light dodging actually gives you a bigger window of protection. So I've only been doing medium because I'm not going to fat roll. I can't be bothered to do that. But there's just so many mechanics at play. A game like Elden Ring is likened to a game like World of Warcraft. It's not necessarily what gear you have, what level you are, how strong your character is, although that is a huge factor. But you can have the best gear, be very strong, and still struggle against a lot of enemies if you don't actually know how the mechanics work and what game you're really playing. And the same is true of Sword Art Online, with a lot of the boss designs and what ended up getting a lot of characters killed and removed from the game and real life. That is how I feel when I play Elden Ring. Elden Ring truly reignites a desire that I often forget about. It's like this childish wonder when I'm playing the game, and it's so exhilarating. It captivates me to think about the fact that what if From Software made an Elden Ring style game with this massive open world that was so skill-based. It was not as much about just pressing buttons as it is understanding what's going on, how to use your abilities, your own tactical abilities, but also if you can dodge like a god, it'll take you so far. And they used that and that setting and that ginormousness that they put into Elden Ring because it's a huge game. And they put that into an open world MMO style game. You know, we haven't had a game that was MMO that was so successful at not just financially, but in terms of evoking player excitement and capturing player intrigue and love since World of Warcraft. And that is why myself and a lot of other people refer to it, because they grew up playing that. And they knew that there was nothing even close at the time, and there still isn't in terms of MMO. It is the best MMO out there, in my opinion. We're not going to talk about retail, okay? We can ignore that one. I was not a fan of retail, but classic WoW was amazing. Elden Ring could do something, From Software could do something similar with the Elden Ring style game. It truly sounds like a game from my own imagination, and they captured it in Elden Ring in this solo experience. While the game surely has some shortcomings, I would have to give the game like a 10 out of 10, and I wish I could give it more, but that just doesn't make sense. It is so well done. It has so much variety. I love that I've beaten the game like 3 or 4 times now, and I'm like, whoa, I haven't done a parry playthrough before, and parry looks really cool. And I was actually planning to do that for my current playthrough. And then I picked up Renala's dual-wielding weapons, and I was carrying it with a shield. I didn't even realize that if I make it what I'm carrying mainly and I don't use a shield, it actually turns into 2 weapons. So I went, oh, I haven't done a dual-wielding playthrough yet. Let's do that. I also haven't done a bleeding playthrough yet. So that would be incredibly awesome as well. The reason that this, for me, is so incredible is because I'm not a guy who likes to beat a game twice, as a common rule. It's very rare that a game is so well done and interesting that I want to go back for more. Very often for me, I love the challenge of beating a game, playing through it, learning the strategy or the story, the narrative is a big contributor to my excitement for gameplay. And then when I finish, a lot of times I have a hard time either starting again or really finishing. And there are some exceptions to this rule, Borderlands 2 being a great example. I loved Borderlands 2 and I've beaten it more times than I can count. But it's very rare. Elden Ring, on the other hand, has so much going for it narratively, and it's so niche, you have to really look and pay attention to find what's going on, while simultaneously being so interesting from a combat and gameplay perspective. Not only do I find new things every single playthrough, I find new areas, new caves, new enemies. I still don't have all the achievements. And I finally decided that this was the game I wanted to get all the achievements for because I've beaten it so many times. I'm actually frustrated that somehow I still don't have all the talisman or legendary talisman, and I still haven't beaten all of the specific bosses. I just beat a new boss today, not realizing that I hadn't beat it before. I'd never even discovered the boss. It was hidden behind a puzzle in the Siofra River or Siofra Aqueduct, where you have to ignite all the different bonfires. The overall atmosphere that Elden Ring has is very rarely matched. So I will use World of Warcraft again because it's just a game that I've been in love with forever. When you go from different locations, whether it be the land of the dwarves, or you go to the land of the humans, or you go to the land of the night elves, every area feels so distinct. The different regions feel so distinct. They've got different art design, different enemy design, different types of difficulties, challenges, different places you can explore, different nooks and crannies, different farmable items and quest lines that are either, monotonous and just normal, or quest lines that lead you to cool items or useful things. Dungeons hidden away that become iconic, such as dead mines. Elden Ring captures that. Going from Limgrave, which is massive, to all these different hidden underground caves where you find a sorceress who can teach you sorcery, or going to a hidden dragon communion option that's you have to go down to the beach and find this well-hidden cave entrance that I actually missed in my first attempt to find it. From there, you can go straight to a land that looks hellish and dark and filled with rot from, scarlet rot, and the form of Caelid. This is just incredibly capturing and interesting and exciting because the mood is captured by the look of the environment you're in, but the enemies and the different types of challenges reflect that in your gameplay experience. The game tells you by showing you. It doesn't. A gripe I have with a lot of games and shows and movies is when you have to verbally tell me how strong something is, you've already lost a piece of what makes them interesting. When I, as a viewer, a gamer, a reader, etc., cannot understand how difficult something is going to be, or how difficult it is, or how powerful it is by looking at it, it's very rare that telling me is going to capture the imagination as much as looking at such a massive monster like Radon for the final boss, and just seeing how menacing looking he looks, knowing the lore as well. Because lore can be something that tells you how strong something is, but it's a game of show and tell. I don't want something that just shows me how strong he is, because then I'm caught off guard and I have no sense of relevancy to his strength, but I also don't want something that just tells me how strong he is, because then I don't actually see any strength and I'm let down. Elden Ring captures this by telling you all of this great lore for all these different main enemies. Godric being a really cool enemy that actually has a dragon attached to him, and he's someone who actually takes the different body parts of those fallen to him. And hearing the lore about it is fascinating. Even though I heard the lore after I fought him, it made me more intrigued and interested in his boss fight. It's crazy that a game I have over 400 hours on makes me want to play another 400. I feel like a kid each time I play, especially each time I make a new character. It's amazing to me that this game can have so many secrets, so much variety, so many cool enemies with unique fighting styles, and the game feels very different from any of the other FromSoft games that I've played. I've played Dark Souls 1, which felt very specific. Dark Souls 3 felt way more refined than Dark Souls 1, but was missing things that Dark Souls 1 had, but it still felt very individualistic. I played Sekiro, which was by far the most individualistic game of the sort of Souls-like games that they have. And then you have Elden Ring, which just captures this very open feeling. Something I really like about Elden Ring is everything feels open. If I'm looking just to beat the game, I would say that some of the Dark Souls games capture that better. Because they have some openness, but they also have a more linearness to them than Elden Ring. Elden Ring feels like no bars held. You can go anywhere and do anything and search everywhere, and you will find things. You will see things. You will see cool enemies, cool weapons. You will be sent into a cave that you explore for like 3 hours that sends you up into a location you've never been before in the middle of Caelid next to a giant just ready to shoot you with an arrow. It's wow, man. It's just really cool, and I don't really know the exact point of this video, if I'm being honest, but I really just wanted to share my excitement and sort of just speak on my love for the game, and I'm curious how many of you have had a similar experience. How many of you are playing the game either for the first time now or you're replaying it, and your love for it, you forgot how much you loved it, and this really reignited it, because playing the DLC made me want to play the base game, and I'm truly in love with it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I do appreciate all of you for checking in and just kind of listening to me ramble at this point. I hope you're having a great day. Stay safe out there. Peace.